don't like to be wet or cold, so this is my worst enemy right now.
What do you think?
I'm just focusing on counting and breathing. It's already light years easier because I feel like my mind was already prepared. So like the biggest reason I want to do this is for mental strength and toughness, and to realize that I can very easily do hard things, and like we're just capable of so much more than we realize. If you follow us on Instagram, then you've probably popped into our DMs asking us, what are you guys doing in a deep freezer? So cold therapy, deliberate cold exposure, ice baths, cold plunges, what have you. We have been obsessed as of late for a multitude of reasons. So we're going to share with you first and foremost why we have been doing cold therapy. Second, we'll be diving into the physical, mental, and emotional benefits. Third, we'll be talking about how you as a beginner can get started with some simple tips and tricks. You don't need any equipment. You don't need to spend even $1. But if you're interested in it, then we will actually be sharing how we made our own cold plunge for pennies on the dollar, compared right into it. No pun intended.
The first question most people have is, why on earth would you be putting yourself into freezing cold water? This was the question I was asking a couple years ago when, like Aaron said, I first stumbled upon Wim Hof. I heard him on the Ritual podcast and about 30 other podcasts before I decided I'm going to do some research and figure out what the heck this guy's doing and why. So as Aaron mentioned, there are mental, physical, and emotional benefits to this. So for me, it was about mental toughness. Okay, so there's something that Andrew Huberman talks about called limbic friction. This is about exposure therapy. Basically, your brain doesn't want to do certain things, but we have the choice to do those anyway, which indeed makes us mentally tough. And that's what I want. That's what we all need. We live in such a posh, easy life, all of us here in the first world, that we sometimes actually need to be challenging ourselves on a daily basis. And that's what I want to do, not just with workouts, not just with a healthy diet and work schedule, etc., but now, yes, with things like cold plunges. It really, truly works, and we'll tell you why.
So good things are often good for you for more than one reason, and cold therapy is no exception. Number one, it increases your body's brown fat, which is essentially your body's internal furnace. It helps with resilience to cold, and it's the good type of fat. On that note, it also burns the bad fat. It reduces inflammation. It can boost your immune system, increase your energy, speed up your metabolism, and can combat depression, stress, and anxiety. Finally, it can elevate your endorphins in the same way that a good sweat session can. It can boost your dopamine, and it can also increase your adrenaline in a good way. So this is a very invigorating, energizing practice to incorporate into your day.
So we are by no means pros. We are very much beginners ourselves. But if you are just starting out, some tips. Number one, start low and slow. Maybe a cold shower. Just 30 seconds at the end of your shower. Turn it to cold and just see how you respond. The key is to regulate your breathing. So if you're doing showers or if you're getting in the cold plunge, breath is necessary. Deep belly breathing pushes up on the diaphragm, slows the heart rate, and it's just going to keep you stable throughout your cold exposure. So the first time I wanted to actually try the cold therapy, I went to the bathtub and put it on all cold, and I sat in it for like 5 minutes. I was so impressed. We actually got a whole bunch of friends together, cut a hole in the ice out at Aaron's family's lake, and got into the freezing cold water. Now, that can be dangerous. We don't recommend that, because 30-degree water can actually stop your heart. People like Andrew Huberman, who does all the science, says it's not as much about the temperature of the water as it is being uncomfortable. If you are uncomfortable and doing it anyway, you are reaping benefits. So when do you do these cold plunges? We say do it early in the day, preferably before your workout, because you're gonna get, like Aaron said, that dopamine boost, those endorphins, and you want that all day long because this will pump you up. So I wouldn't do it before bed, and like I mentioned, you don't want to do it after a workout. Some studies say that because of this vasoconstricting effect, it can inhibit muscle growth. You want your blood to be pumping after a workout to deliver nutrients and everything else you need to recover. So we say do it early in the morning and before workout. Studies show that 11 minutes of cold exposure therapy per week makes you more resilient, increases your brown fat, like Aaron mentioned. So that's just a couple of minutes a day. Again, going back to Andrew Huberman, Huberman Labs, he's got an Instagram and an amazing YouTube channel podcast you have to check out. He recommends 2 to 3 minutes of cold exposure therapy a few times a week. So sitting in the tub for 11 minutes isn't necessarily as good as just 2 or 3 minutes at a time.
Beginner tip is to let yourself warm up naturally for maximum benefit after you get out of the cold plunge. Ideally, you'd be able to sit in the sunshine if it's warm out wherever you're at. Towel off, do whatever you have to do, but avoid a hot shower right afterwards. We're gonna go pop our swimsuits on and we're gonna show you our DIY cold plunge. Dusty and I have both been talking about how each time we do it, it doesn't get easier. It actually gets harder to want to get in the cold just because you know what's coming. It's kind of like childbirth in that way. It's not going to be any easier, and I'm not excited for this, even though I've done it before. That being said, I think I'm feeling a little bit more geared up this time, so maybe I'm onto something here.